Good evening and welcome to CYC News for today, the 23rd of October 2015 AD and the 14th of Baba 1732 AM. I'm Susie Michael. In today's headlines, our exclusive story, we follow His Holiness Pope Tawadros II in the USA. WikiLeaks publishes CIA chief's personal information. Israeli Prime Minister criticised for saying Holocaust was Mufti's idea, not Hitler's. Trudeau says to Obama Canada will pull out of bombing campaign against ISIS. UN leader visits Palestinian territories amid tensions. And Lamar makes progress in Los Angeles. To our exclusive story where CYC are following the visit of His Holiness Pope Tawadros II in the United States. On Thursday the 15th of October, the Pope of Alexandria and Patriarch of the See of St. Mark travelled to St. Maurice Church in Los Angeles where he met with the Church Fathers and their wives. On Friday the 16th of October, he travelled to California where he visited St. George's Church in Bellflower and met with the kids and the youth. He also met with the people of St. Damiana Church in Bakersfield, California. On Saturday and Sunday, the 17th and 18th of October, His Holiness consecrated 2 altars and the baptistry room of St. Mary and St. Athanasius the Apostolic Church in Northbridge, Los Angeles. The Pope also consecrated St. Carolus VI Church and ordained the priest of the church, Father Athanasius Regab, as hegumen during the liturgy in Orange County. And His Holiness also visited St. John the Beloved Church in Covina, California. Throughout the week, His Holiness signed an agreement of an inauguration of St. Athanasius and St. Carolus Cemetery at the American Claremont University on Tuesday, October 20. The Pope also gave a sermon in St. Mina's Church in Riverside and laid the foundation stone of St. Justina Church, as well as laying the foundation stone of the Monks' Church, located in the monastery of St. Paul the Apostle. His Holiness was received by the Egyptian ambassador, Mrs. Lamar, in the Egyptian consulate in Los Angeles. On Wednesday, October 21, His Holiness then travelled to St. Mary's Church in Victor Hill and also to St. Anthony's Monastery in California, where he consecrated the altar, icons and the baptistry room of St. Moses' Church, located within the monastery. After ending the liturgy, His Holiness placed the foundation stone of a new building for the monks' cells. And to conclude the week so far, His Holiness Pope Tawadros laid the foundation stone of St. Mary's Church in Las Vegas, Nevada. What a busy week it has been for the Pope. Moving on to other news. WikiLeaks on Wednesday published personal information of CIA Director John Brennan after a brazen hack attack of the top spy's personal email account. Throughout all of the documents predate Brennan's time in the Obama administration and reveal no classified data, information such as social security numbers, passport numbers and addresses of his family and associates is causing great concern within the agency. Among the documents released online is Brennan's incomplete SF-86, a questionnaire federal employees must fill out in order to gain security clearance. Along with personally identifiable information, this document includes personal information about his health, criminal history, questions about whether he's used drugs and associations with foreign governments. The hackers, who claim to have illegally accessed Brennan's personal server last week, are believed to have supplied WikiLeaks with this information and are threatening to release more documents. The CIA released a statement saying the hacking of the Brennan family account is a crime and the Brennan family is the victim. The private electronic holdings of the Brennan family were plundered with malicious intent and are now being distributed across the web. This attack is something that could happen to anyone and should be condemned, not promoted. WikiLeaks tweeted late Wednesday afternoon that it planned to release more emails from Brennan. The group is said to have tweeted, "Tomorrow we continue our CIA Chief John Brennan email series, including US strategy in Afghanistan and Pakistan." Well, there's no question Adolf Hitler led Nazi Germany when it implemented the final solution in an effort to kill all Jews. But in a speech this week, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu suggested it wasn't Hitler's idea. Rather, he pointed to Jerusalem's then Grand Mufti, Haj Amin al-Husseini, who met with the Nazi leader in Germany in the early 1940s. Hitler didn't want to exterminate the Jews at the time, he wanted to expel the Jews, Netanyahu said at the 37th Zionist Congress, according to a transcript on his website. He continued, and Haj Amin al-Husseini went to Hitler and said, "If you expel them, they'll all come here." "So what should I do with them?" Hitler asked. Husseini said, "Burn them." There's no video or audio, not even a transcript, that can prove definitively Netanyahu's account of the conversation between Hitler and Husseini, who, as Grand Mufti, oversaw Islamic sites in Jerusalem. But it quickly spurred criticism in Israel and the Palestinian territories, with some claiming that Netanyahu had effectively absolved Hitler of the Holocaust's most gruesome, deplorable aspect, and instead blamed Husseini, then and now a renowned figure in Palestinian circles, for the systematic killing of more than 6 million Jews using gas chambers and firing squads. Canada's new leader-in-waiting says he intends to follow through on his campaign promise to pull the country out of the US-led bombing campaign against ISIS militants in Syria and Iraq. Justin Trudeau, who led the Liberal Party to a stunning victory in elections on Monday, said he has already told US President Barack Obama of his plans. "He understands the commitments I've made around ending the combat mission," Trudeau told reporters, without giving a time frame for when Canada's airstrikes would stop. Trudeau is expected to take office in the coming weeks, replacing Conservative Prime Minister Stephen Harper, who sent Canadian warplanes to carry out airstrikes against ISIS. Canada's bombing raid started hitting the Islamic extremist group's position in Iraq in November 2014 and expanded into Syria in April. As of late last week, Canada's 6 Hornet fighters in the region had flown 1,046 sorties in the anti-ISIS operation, which didn't specify how many of the flights involved airstrikes. Other aircraft have conducted hundreds of refueling and reconnaissance missions. UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon arrived in Jerusalem on Tuesday in an attempt to de-escalate tensions that have produced a spate of killings and retaliations between Israelis and Palestinians, demonstrating a diplomatic balancing act with no easy end in sight. Over the past weeks, Israelis have been targeted in attacks where they've been run over, stabbed, or even hacked to death, said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who spoke alongside Ban at a news conference. Meanwhile, Palestinians report that 45 Palestinians have been killed by Israeli security forces in the West Bank, Jerusalem, and Gaza. Ban has stature as his top official in the United Nations, but that hardly guarantees he'll be able to soothe tensions that have been simmering, not just for weeks, but for decades. His balancing act was apparent during the joint news conference, where Netanyahu accused Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas of fueling fears that Israel threatens the holy site at Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem. Ban added he also has been deeply troubled by statements made by Palestinian militant groups, including Hamas and Islamic Jihad, praising such heinous attacks. But he did not include Abbas in that group. The Secretary-General was quoted as saying, "Israelis and Palestinians stand on the brink of another catastrophic period of violence. We need to keep the situation from escalating into a religious conflict with potential regional implications. We must create conditions for meaningful negotiations that will end the occupation and realize the aspirations of both peoples." The leader of an al-Qaeda-linked group allegedly bent on attacking the West has been killed in an airstrike by the US-led coalition in Syria, according to US officials. The Pentagon released a statement saying that Sanafi al-Nasra, a Saudi citizen whose real name is Abdul Mohsen Abdullah Ibrahim al-Shakra, was the highest-ranking member of Khorasan Group, a collective of veteran al-Qaeda jihadists which had moved into Syria. The statement concluded he was killed in an airstrike in northwest Syria on Thursday. Nasra, who was once an al-Qaeda's chief financial officer and had been labelled a specially designated global terrorist by the US Treasury, is the 5th senior Khorasan Group leader killed in the last 4 months. The United States will not relent in its mission to degrade, disrupt and destroy al-Qaeda and its remnants, said Secretary of Defense Ash Carter. This operation deals a significant blow to the Khorasan group's plans to attack the United States and our allies, and once again proves that those who seek to do us harm are not beyond our reach. Nasr's death was referred to widely on jihadist social media sites, where he was mourned as a martyr. Over to London, where the condition of a Scottish nurse battling a relapse of the deadly Ebola virus has improved, a London hospital says. 39-year-old Pauline Kafaki is in a serious but stable condition in London's Royal Free Hospital, according to the National Health Service. Kafaki was admitted to hospital in Glasgow, Scotland, nearly 2 weeks ago due to an unusual late complication of her Ebola infection. She was transferred to a high-level isolation unit in a London hospital as her condition worsened, and health authorities said she was critically ill. Kafaki's relapse came about 9 months after she was first discharged from the Royal Free Hospital, having apparently beaten the virus. The public health nurse contracted Ebola, which has killed more than 11,000 people globally, while working as part of a 30-person team deployed by the UK government to work to contain the outbreak in Sierra Leone. She was diagnosed with Ebola shortly after returning to the UK. British health officials have said that the risk to the public from Kafaki's relapse is very low, but they have been following up with her close contacts. A preliminary study released by the World Health Organization this month found that the virus can still be found in the semen of survivors for at least 9 months after the onset of symptoms, and a US Ebola survivor was found to have traces of the virus in his eye months after the doctors had declared him Ebola-free. The captain of a cargo ship presumed to have sunk during Hurricane Joaquin had reported a hull breach, a blown scuttle, and the presence of water on board, the National Transportation and Safety Board reported on Tuesday. The 40-year-old El Faro never made it to Puerto Rico after it left Jacksonville, Florida this month, and appears to have sunk near islands in the Bahamas. 33 people were on board. In a recorded call, the ship's captain reported a marine emergency early on Thursday, the 1st of October. The captain said the ship had lost its main propulsion unit and that engineers were unable to get it going. El Faro's last reported position was about 20 miles from the edge of the hurricane's eye, despite the captain having said he planned to take the ship along a route that would pass about 65 miles from the storm's centre. An arsonist targeted a 7th St. Louis area church on Thursday, the latest in a series of fires set in mostly African-American neighbourhoods in recent days. In each case, the fire was set as an exterior door and when no one was at the facility, according to a joint statement from the St. Louis Police and Fire Departments and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives. "We believe that this fire-setting activity is meant to send a message," the statement said. It didn't specify what the message was. The fires were set over 11 days. At least 6 were at predominantly African-American churches, CNA affiliate Comof reported. St. Louis Fire Chief Dennis Jenkinson said that the latest fire occurred at the Shrine of St. Joseph's Catholic Church early on Thursday. The new Northside Missionary Baptist Church was an earlier target for arson. The fire department put out a fire at that church's front door. "I was very thankful in that the potential for more damage was there," Reverend Roderick Burton told CNN. "Our biggest concern is for whomever is doing this. We want them to get help. We want them to stop absolutely. And I think people would like to know what is the motivation behind it," he said. The Reverend Earl Nance Jr. described the fire as travesty. Although his Greater Mount Carmel Baptist Church wasn't among the churches targeted, he said, "When this kind of thing happens to one or more of our churches, we must all come together." Authorities are investigating but haven't determined if the fires are connected. They have also released a statement saying, "If you have observed anyone who has recently expressed anger or frustration with our religious community or with these particular churches, we ask that you contact us. If you noticed anyone or anything suspicious or unusual in the areas near the churches, please contact us." And to our final story, Lamar Odom's family says he has taken a few steps since arriving in Los Angeles, part of what they described as miraculous progress for the former NBA player. In a statement released on Tuesday, Lamar's aunt Janine Mercer and the Odom family thanked doctors and nurses who cared for him at a Las Vegas hospital, asking supporters to keep praying for him. As Lamar begins a new chapter in his road to recovery, please continue to uplift him and the family in prayer. He continues to make miraculous progress, taking a few steps in Los Angeles. We couldn't be more overjoyed, the statement said. We realise Lamar's continued improvement will not be easy. However, his unrelenting strength and faith in God will pull him through. Lamar was hospitalised in Las Vegas last week, after he was found unconscious at the Love Ranch, a brothel in Nevada where he'd spent several days. A friend of Odom's told CNN that he has been transferred to a Los Angeles hospital. ESPN, citing sources, reported that Lamar was taken by medical helicopter on Monday night. For days, those closest to him were tight-lipped about his condition. Former college coach Jim Harrick said on CNN's New Day that the 35-year-old athlete has made a little bit of progress and has told his estranged wife, Khloe Kardashian, "I love you." On Tuesday, Kardashian released a statement of her own thanking doctors and nurses for helping Lamar make incredible strides. "You can never be prepared for an experience like this," Kardashian said, "but without the outpouring love and endless prayers that Lamar has received and the strength I was given from my loved ones, it would have been difficult to endure. Thank you for your continued support. God is great." And that's all for CYC News. Stay tuned for more Christian content on CYC. I'm Susie Michael from the CYC studios in Sydney, Australia. Good night and God bless.